Hey everybody, I'm Chris, and I'm back with another episode here talking about Teams 40k. In this video I'm just going to go over the basics of what you need to do for a Teams, what is Teams all about, and why play in Teams. And if you enjoy content like this, please be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll get onto the video right now. So in this video, I'm going to try and keep it short, but I want to get through a few topics. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what the series is about. Then we'll go into what is Teams in 40k, and then we'll go into why play Teams. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's go on to the first topic here, and we have what the series is going to be about. So I really want to turn this into a series, guys, because I really love talking about Teams 40k. It's my favorite way to play 40k, and it's just the best way, in my opinion, on how to play. But yeah, so what we got here is, me wanting to talk about my favorite way to play 40k. So that's kind of checked off there. And then why listen to me? Truthfully, that's really up to you. I did go to WTC this past year in 2024 with Team New Zealand. I was one of the coaches there. I got to learn a huge amount about what it is to play teams, about pairings, about team comp, about practicing beforehand, about what it is to be a team and play as a team, all this kind of stuff. So if you enjoy that and you want to learn more about it, that's kind of what I want to talk about. But I really do want to have this fed by you guys. So if you have anything you want to know about teams, list suggestions, we could even do an episode on what are my 5 favorite lists. I do have a video that I'll link in the description about a faction tier list on what armies are best in teams at the moment. So if you are interested in teams, that's a pretty good video to check out as well. But yeah, that's kind of it. Listen to me if you want to. If you're interested in teams, this is kind of like the place that I really want to talk about this kind of stuff. I'll try and keep the other content away from teams a bit because obviously it's not everyone's cup of tea, and singles is definitely still much bigger than teams, but teams is the way to go. So what is Teams 40k? So to start off, you'll need to find 4 other friends or 7 other friends depending on what size the team's event is. Most teams events will be 5v5, so you'll need 4 other friends, including yourself, or 5 people in total, and you will need to find 5 different factions, because in teams you cannot repeat factions. So you have to find, if you have a Space Marine player, you can't then take Space Marines anywhere else. If you have an Agents of the Imperium player, you can't take Agents of the Imperium. You can't take agents in any of the other lists. All this kind of stuff. So you have to find 4 different people that with 4 different lists that all want to play together. And once you get that, then your world's open. You can submit your 5 different lists, start pairings, start practicing, and then you're on your way. So that's the first thing you need to do, and that's the first thing about teams. You have different armies, and you need usually 5 people. Sometimes there are 4-person teams events. And then there's also 6 and 7, which very rare. I think most of the time you'll be finding 5v5 or 8v8. Those are your kind of most common sizes. The next interesting thing about teams is there is a pairings process. So in a singles event, you just randomly get paired every round into someone in the same bracket. If you've won all your games, you'll play against someone else that's won all your games. Similarly in teams, your team gets paired against a team that has won all their games if you've won all your games. But your matchups within that, your 5 players versus our 5 players, is not random. You actually have, say, 5 different faction tokens that you secretly put down. Your opponent puts one down, and then you have what's called a defender. So you both put one down as your defenders. You then roll a dice. You roll off. Whoever wins that roll gets to pick board first. So there's also this interesting thing that there's usually different styles of boards. So there's usually a light board, 3 medium boards, and a heavy board. And then obviously for 8v8, it's you just double the light and heavies. So you have 2 lights, 4 mediums, and 2 heavies. So if winning that roll-off is kind of important, because whatever your defender was, say you took Tau, you probably don't want to give them a heavy board. You probably want them on a medium or a light board. So winning that roll-off means that, okay, now my Tau can go on to the light board. But you both put down a defender. You flip them after the die roll. So now I know my opponent's taken World Eaters, was using this example, and I've put down my Tau Empire. Now with the 4 factions you have left to take, you pick 2 of them and you put them against your opponent's world eaters, and then they'll pick 2 of their factions and put them into into our Tau. And so then we have to decide which one of those 2 factions we want to take. Now we actually want to play against. So say they gave us Imperial Guard and Death Guard. So two kind of like more durable, 2 more durable armies that really just don't want to be blown out and just want to keep games close. So I was like, okay, so which one of those is better for us? And then at this time you can also look about like which one of these factions is worse for the rest of our team. So the armies that we have left after this first round of pairings, well, I was like, we're still going to have our Chaos Space Marine player, and they really don't want to go into Death Guard. So I was like, okay, well maybe our Tau takes the Death Guard out now, because we can still probably maybe win that game, give it a good shot, and then we can take it onto the light table, which we're a bit more favoured on, since we won the die roll, say in this example. And then they'll do the same. So we put 2 of our factions into them, and then they'll pick one of those, and whoever won the die roll, using us as in the example this time, gets to then pick a table, then they'll pick a table, and then the 3 factions that you have left at this point, you do the exact same thing on repeat. So we put down a defender, they put down a defender, you flip them. Now whoever lost the die roll at the beginning now gets to pick table first. So you flip your 2 armies over. So say it was our, what's a good faction right now? Let's do Agents of the Imperium, since I've got a video on them. So we put over our Ashley on our Agents of the Imperium. We put him up as our second defender, and they put up so we didn't take their Astra Militarum, they put up their Astra Militarum as their second defender. So they're really trying to give that now a good table now that the Tau's taken out. So now you just go through the exact same process, put our last 2 factions into their last 2 factions. There's no real decision points at this point, and then you just flip, you pick up, you choose which one of those 2 factions you want to play, and then whatever from both sides doesn't get picked, then they play each other. So there is just a lot more choice on what you're playing. You can't take away every bad matchup, but you can take away some really bad matchups. And it also means that usually there'll be one person that gets like a really bad matchup, but you're trying to give someone else a really good matchup. So it's just a really important thing to think about, that, well, I can actually build my list in a different way now. I can do this in a different way. I can play in a different way. If I know I'm going to lose this game, you play in a different way than if you're just trying to win the game. So like, well, I'm just going to try and get 8 differential points, which leads us on to how the games actually get scored. And you still play your normal game. At the moment we're playing Pariah, so your Pariah Nexus missions, you play just your normal game, and then what happens is at the end of the game you have a differential. So you both start with effectively 10 points, and then for every 5 points that your opponent has higher or lower than you, you gain or lose a differential point. So if you get 55 points above your opponent's score, so say they scored 40 and you scored 95 plus, you would get 20 points, so you would get all the differential points, and they would get 0 of the differential points. And say if there was a 15 point difference, you would get 13 and they'll get 7. So it's really important to try and get as many points as you can, because that's how your team wins. It's not done on, oh, I've won 3 of my games and they won only 2, so we win the round. We could win 3 games, but the 2 wins that they got were both 20-0s, and then the 3 wins that we got were 11-9s, and they actually win that round. So it's really important to keep games as close as you can and do all this kind of different stuff. So in 5s, it's usually 55 points you need to win the round, and in 8s, it's usually 86 or 85, depending on how the TO wants to run it. So that's kind of like the basis of what teams is. You need 5 friends, or 4 friends and yourself. You submit your lists. They all have to be different. You get to the tables with your 5 different factions. You find up against another team. You pair against them. You score your games on differential, and then you either win, draw, or lose, and then you just go on to the next round. So that's kind of like the gist of how teams kind of functions. So on to the next thing. We have why play teams. This is very similar to the other one, but like you get to take really unique lists. Is a really cool thing that you get to do in teams, which is like, because in singles you need to have factions that have a wide array of good matchups, or you take units because like, oh, this is a bad matchup for me, so I need to be able to take infiltrators because I can't let things 3-inch deep strike around me, or whatever it may be. Like, you have to take these extra pieces. Whereas in teams, if the 3-inch deep strike lists your opponent in your opponent's teams, you can just pair around it and make sure, well, this army just doesn't get to play that. Or you know that it's going to be a worse matchup for you, so you take that into your pairings, and you take that into account with your pairings. So that's like a really cool thing. So you can take really big skew lists. You can take, oh, we're going to take 3 vehicle heavy lists because we don't think our opponent can actually deal with 3 vehicle heavy lists. So we're just going to try and pressure them in pairings. We're like, well, we're going to put a vehicle list as our first defender, and then we're also going to attack with their first defender with 2 attackers that are both vehicle lists to really try and pressure that early pairing side of things, which can be a really interesting way of kind of forcing bad matchups early on in pairings. So that's one thing you can do with unique lists. You can do skews in all sorts of different ways. You can do infantry heavy, pressure lists. This is probably a video I'll do at another point, just going through like a bunch of different team comps you can take. And yeah, hopefully like and subscribe if you want to see what kind of lists I can come up with on that. I'll probably try and go through the whole experience of how you kind of think about it, how you do that kind of stuff. The next reason why you want to play as why play teams is you get to play as a team. In 40k singles, it's you win your games, you lose your games on your own. It's like you might have friends that you're like, oh, this game was so good, this die roll happened. Amplify that by like 10 when you're playing as a team, because everything you do is so important, but everything everyone does in their games is so important. And you might just be getting absolutely stomped in your game, but it doesn't matter because the rest of your team's doing well, and they can hype you up. So even if you're not having a great time, your teammates around you are going to pump you up because like, oh, like look what's happening in this game, it's going amazing. So you really get to play as a team and have that team like community, which is just a really awesome thing. And I think it can't be understated how actually important that is for like how much more fun 40k becomes when you actually play in that group. And especially at the dinners afterwards, often teams go out for dinner on the Saturday night of a teams event, and it's just always more banter. You have so much more excitement. It's like, oh, we only won that round by 1 differential point. If Kevin didn't get that 1 extra point, we would have drawn the round. It would have been amazing. So really, there's a lot more hype that can go over it, and it's just really, really, really exciting. Next thing is you get to learn new skills, because pairings is a thing that's completely different. You don't get that in singles. You have the unique list that we mentioned earlier. You're also trying to like build like team comps. So like you can take the skew lists. You can take, oh well, what 5 factions? Do we just take the 5 best singles lists, or do we try and like tailor lists to a certain meta that we think is going to be there? There's all these kind of things that can come into it. And also predicting what your opponents are going to take. So like there's so much here that you can learn so much more stuff about 40k, and even how to play games. You learn new skills on, well, I know I'm going to lose this game, but how do I lose this game by the least amount possible? You end up playing quite differently than if you're like, well, I need to put all my tanks out right now just to try and kill them, because if I don't, then I'm going to lose and it doesn't matter. Whereas if you think you're going to lose, and well, you know you're going to lose, trying to score 70, 80 points instead of trying to win is so much more important, because you're keeping those differential points and you're keeping your team's entire score higher just by playing technically to lose. You can be like, well, this isn't going to win me the game, but I'm losing the game by less. So like, it's a really different mindset to get into, and truly is one of the hardest skills to learn for teams. So it's a lot of like really cool things to learn. Like if you're a seasoned veteran at 40k, but you haven't played teams before, it's just a really interesting, different way to change your mindset in games. And the last thing is, and this one hits home quite a lot for me, is losing isn't as bad. If you get absolutely stomped in your game, it doesn't matter. You could have just been paired into the worst possible matchup, and that you told your captain to like, please, if anything, just don't set me into this. And they're going to send you into it, because sometimes it's just how pairings go, and it's nothing on your whoever's doing your pairings. Usually it's the captain. It's not their fault. But it just happens. It can be rough. I had a teams tournament last year where I think I got busting is the term for like getting thrown under the bus, getting put into a bad matchup. I got bust 4 out of my 5 rounds, and I was like, cool. But again, it went back to learning those new skills. I just tried to, take the handbrake off and just be like, sweet, how do I score as many points as I can, even though I'm going to lose this game? It's just, it's just not as bad. You can rely on your other friends, your teammates, to score those points because you're taking the bad matchup from the rest of them, right? Obviously, it's a bit more. There's more minutia to it than just if we get rid of one bad matchup, we win the round. But there is, there is a lot in there. So it just really makes losing not as bad, and it's just really nice when if you lose all 5 games at a singles event, you can feel really demotivated. Oh man, it was just horrible. But you could lose all 5 games at a teams event and still win the event because the rest of your team has, not even picked up the slack, but they got better matchups because of you that we ended up winning all these rounds. So it's just a really different way of playing, and it really empowers everyone to do what they need to for the team. Not necessarily win, it could be lose, it could be you might be the absolute sword that you're playing Thousand Suns or whatever the huge powerhouse army is at the moment, and just you're trying to get those 20s, you're trying to absolutely punish your opponent. But you might not be that person, and you might be the person who's like, well, I'm going to take Astra Militarum or Death Guard or these armies that can just play a 5-turn game and just keep scoring, keep games closer. And that could be your style of play. And then it doesn't matter if you win, if you're trying to get like a 10-10, which is a draw, or like 9 or 8 points. It's so much better than being like, well, I'm just going to risk everything, and then if it doesn't work, I get 0, and then my opponent gets 20, which is so much worse for your team. So yeah, losing ain't as bad. And that's pretty much it for this video. I didn't want to go too deep into any topic. I really just wanted to talk about like the general gist of teams, get through some kind of the basics of what teams is about, and see what we can do. So what would you like me to talk about? If I'm going to be doing this series, I love teams. I want to talk about teams every single day. I try to talk about teams with people every single day because I love it so much. So if I can do that on this YouTube channel, that's absolutely awesome to me. So what would you like me to talk about? Please tell me in the comments below. Message me if you know me. Whatever, either Facebook page as well for Odyssey 40k. Smash comments on there. Whatever you want. Please just tell me what you want to talk about, whether it's pairings, if you want me to go deep dive into any different specific thing. It could be lists, it could be trying to figure out team comps, could be how to even pack and prepare, how to get the 5 armies together. Like often one person has to won't have all the models, so like, well, where do we borrow these models from to get everything in time? And this person actually needs to build and paint 2,000 points, or maybe I can take 400 points, build and paint that. This guy can take like a few hundred points and paint that. They're like, and I'll do all the basing. So once everyone's based, everyone's painted, I can go and base them all. So there's all that kind of stuff. So really, it's really open on what you guys want me to talk about here. So please let me know. And also, the next thing, what can I do better? Like, I've just started this YouTube channel. I really enjoy making these videos. I find it a lot of fun, especially doing like the interviews and stuff. But like these videos, this is the other kind of avenue I really wanted to go down. It's like talking about teams. Might do a similar series talking about singles and doing stuff like that as well. But I'm going to see how this teams one does first. But what can I do better? What would you like me to see? I can obviously do more slides and stuff. They do take a lot of time. This one I try to keep fairly simple, but if you want more slides, want more visuals, let me know what kind of things you want, and I'll try and add those into the videos wherever I can. And then cheeky little like and subscribe at the end of the video as well, please. And thank you guys all for watching. Really appreciate that, and I will see you all next time. Bye!